Sandeep has also a lot of experience in building cross-functional teams from scratch, including hiring, coaching, promoting sales reps, sales managers, and solution architect.
Awesome. Good to have you all here on a Friday morning, braving the Bangalore traffic. My name is Sandeep Cashyap. I'm part of Google Cloud, and I have the fortune of working with a lot of early and emerging startups in the country. So today we look at how cloud as an ecosystem can help a lot of startups, specifically in the SaaS space. What are the different levers we have from a Google standpoint in helping a lot of the SaaS startups? We'll have some time for Q&A at the end, so we'll keep it flexible. Okay, building a startup is always challenging, right? There are multiple things that come in your way that you need to solve as founders, as technology folks. Obviously, time to market is something which is super critical. There are multiple startups in the same space which try to operate. You also need to look at, once you've started something, how do you very quickly scale? Scale in terms of product, scale in terms of people, scale in terms of markets, customer sizes, a lot of challenges coming there. Also looking at what are the different ways of looking at data and insights within the organization, and how do you leverage that well to impact your end customers, right? While doing all this, while growing rapidly at scale, obviously to do this with the right unit economics is very important. That's a favorite buzzword with a lot of VCs right now, right? It's what are the economics of this scale and how we're looking at costs over a period of time, right? The last point, of course, is people and how we're working with a small team, how do we efficiently build out products and ensure that we have maximum productivity, right? Google sort of helps address each of those challenges, and we've seen time and again a lot of different startups actually leverage the platform to address. And through this presentation, we look at each of these components as subsections and look at how we can partner on some of these things. And you can use the power of Google Cloud to propel your business. So just a snapshot, while Google has been in India for a long time, Google Cloud has been growing quite aggressively over the last 4 to 5 years. A lot of different kinds of customers on the platform. I don't know how many of you booked the Mahindra here when they did that flash sale of the new Mahindra car that got launched. It got done completely on the Google platform, right? So a lot of such large enterprise customers and conglomerates who are looking to really digitally transform their business and get onto the cloud across multiple verticals. A lot of different innovation with the banking customers, especially not just with Google Cloud, but some of the technologies that we've helped build along with Google Pay. And this list actually goes on. On the other end of the spectrum, we have a very vibrant startup ecosystem in the country, and seeing a lot of different startups really embrace cloud, be it from an infrastructure standpoint, data standpoint, of late a lot of AI and ML, and of course a lot of collaboration and communication, which anyway is a part of most of the startups. Like I told, how do we address each of those areas? And we'll start looking at each of these sections. The first one is definitely how quickly you can get launched, right? And speed of doing things. So there are multiple ways that we actually enable startups to start up very quickly and start scaling. And how do you look at landing your MVP in the market? How do you very quickly look at iterating based on the feedback which is there? And this could be direct feedback which is coming in from your customers. This could be feedback coming in from customer behavior on multiple other platforms. Maybe not directly Google Cloud, but things like Firebase on your app, or it could be Google Analytics on your front-end portal. A lot of such different sources in helping get that feedback onto the system, right? The other interesting part is once you start building and launching the app, we give you a lot of different levers from an automation standpoint, templatize whatever you're building, and very quickly relaunch it across maybe multiple geographies or multiple data centers, what have you, right? So how is this really possible? This is actually possible because it's backed by what we call our global infrastructure footprint. And this is like a ever-growing footprint, right? So we have close to 33 regions, and I think we've announced some 10 or 11 more. Basically, the ones you see in yellow are the new regions. And every region that we launch, it actually has multiple availability zones. So what we've launched in India, we have 2 regions, one in Delhi and one in Mumbai. Each of them come with 3 different availability zones, which are completely different data centers on different, seismic planes and things like that, right? And this is actually also backed by what we call our points of presence or edge locations or POPs, to distribute a lot of this content very quickly to your end customers. We are using a lot of backbone that Google had already built within India and globally as well, not just from a Google Cloud standpoint. For a lot of SaaS companies, the starting point is India and APAC to test waters before they eventually go to, let's say, North America or Europe, which are larger markets. So even from a APAC standpoint, I think quite a vibrant footprint, and we have a lot of customers who, if not using the India region, are in either Southeast Asia or Australia or even Japan. India specifically, we have a very interesting setup given the YouTube reach that we have. We've actually, even before launching Google Cloud, tied up with a lot of data center providers and their last miles. This is sort of same backbone that we use to reach a lot of your content and customers across tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities through the dedicated platforms that we built from a connectivity standpoint. The other interesting fact is, while I'm speaking of a lot of different regions and deployments, you have the flexibility to actually launch this with a single VPC or network.
Backlight. Backlight.
Sorry folks, I have a bad throat. So how does this really help you in speed? So you can literally do one-click deployments for customers that are sitting in the US, in Europe. If you have services talking to each other across multiple regions or geos, you can have databases which sort of sync across multiple regions. So a lot of different possibilities from a networking standpoint. Other interesting fact is, from a speed standpoint, because Google runs almost 20-25% of the global traffic, we built a lot of our own network and fiber. So customers really have 2 choices. If you want the content to reach your end customers, it can actually happen through the internet, like it happens in most cases. Or on Google, you have what we call a premium network, where a lot of this data till the last mile actually runs on Google's backbone and Google's fiber before it actually reaches the end user. So we've seen a lot of use cases, especially in fintech or SaaS companies which are in the ad monetization space, where latency is extremely important, right? And this is really a game changer for a lot of those organizations. Coming to the next portion, which is how do you look at the megabytes and gigabytes and terabytes of data that keep getting generated, and how do you drive a lot of interesting insights for yourself as a platform and for your end customers as well, right? And as you've seen over the last 6 months, there's a lot of buzz around how you extend that to AI and ML. there's a lot of work which has actually happened around AI, but over the last 6 months, stuff around generative AI has really taken the world by storm. And we'll spend some time on how we enable startups to do that. But this is sort of our bread and butter. A lot of startups actually start their journey on Google Cloud from using the data platforms that we've built. Even before, let's say, they build an app or they have a service. So some points which make this very interesting. A lot of stuff that Google builds and makes it available to customers is actually technology that we use within Google, which means that a lot of these components are automated, many times serverless, where a lot of those heavy lifting components don't actually fall over to your responsibility. And you could be a product manager, you could be a end user, you could be a contact center salesperson. It doesn't really matter what your persona is. It's very seamless to use any of these platforms. And what's very interesting is even not just Google Cloud, but the plethora of services that Google just offers. There are multiple data points which generate a lot of data for you as platforms. And Google sort of makes that very seamless for you to look at ingesting, capturing, storing, processing and analyzing a lot of those data points that will come through. And of course, given the sort of regulation that is being built, the government has also quite recently announced a data privacy guideline that is going to come out. There are a lot of tools and processes available to ensure that the data that you have both at rest and in transit is secure, and there's always a footprint available for you to track later from a compliance standpoint, so that none of the data points are touched by people who don't have the right access controls to that. And the natural extension to AI and ML that we keep talking about, and I will spend some time on that. So if you really look at it, the generation of data, like I told, is irrespective of where it comes from, and we have a lot of customers who actually use, even before they use Google Cloud, they use a lot of the ads services from Google, right? And the data that is getting generated there could be in petabytes for a lot of our customers. And there is a native integration to BigQuery, as we call it, which is really the core of our data platform. And the sources need not be Google specific data sources, it could be coming from any third party places. So clickstream coming from a lot of different sources is a very common use case that startups actually use the platform. I'll go into both PQ and Vortex, but the interesting thing is, I don't know how many of you are aware, Looker is actually a solution that Google acquired and integrated. It's a very strong visualization platform, and we actually have a lot of customers who are using this to enable the insights to the last mile, right, which is product managers and end users who are using the platform. And of course, a lot of different connectors which are built into whatever visualization platforms that you have. The interesting thing is, if you look at the entire life cycle of the data that a lot of customers use, we either have native services that Google has built and made it available like a product, or we have a lot of customers who actually use open source technologies, and Google is not very particular in terms of how you actually get that done, as long as the job is getting done, right? So, in fact, we are one of the largest contributors to the open source platforms in terms of the technologies. Kubernetes being one of the largest ones from a container standpoint, which actually came out of Google. And TensorFlow. I don't know how many of you have used the TensorFlow platform. Again, something that originated out of Google for running some of your ML frameworks. Very interestingly, given that we understand TensorFlow that well, we've actually built a GPU platform specific to running TensorFlow. We actually call that TPUs, TensorFlow Processing Units, and customers have seen some phenomenal results when it comes to using TensorFlow on the Google platform. And now they've sort of modified and started using that to some of the other platforms like PyTorch and things like that to get very interesting set of results. And because I was talking of ML, innately Google has been doing AI and ML across a lot of our different services. It is not an individual innovation that we've done specifically for Google Cloud. People use Google Email either for personal or workspaces, that's called in the professional domain. You would have seen a lot of AI being embedded into that automatically. And a lot of the other services that we have, right? So it's a natural extension for us to look at some of the ML stuff that we've been doing. And today, very proud to say that it's a very comprehensive AI platform for a lot of startups to start consuming, irrespective of the kind of people, talent, processes that they have, irrespective of your very early stage pre-seed, or even if you're a startup which is got an exit. And a whole series of innovations around ML that Google has been doing. I think the tipping point was in the last 2 years. So we just released Palm 2, in fact, this year, which is our own version of the LLMs and a bunch of models that come around that, which has seen tremendous sort of acceptance from the user community and opens up a lot of different use cases. So what we've actually done is, over the last 2 years, looking at some of the technologies that we've sort of released, we've built that into a very comprehensive AI portfolio. And I'll spend some time on this. The beauty of this platform is that irrespective of what your organization's strategy is towards AI and ML, the sort of resources that you have within the organization, irrespective of all that, there is flexibility and choice. So what we strive to offer is, we'll start at the bottom, a very robust infrastructure to run any of your ML workloads. There are, like I told, a lot of GPU instances available. NVIDIA is our partner of choice. We've built our own TPUs, like I told, very specific to TensorFlow, some phenomenal results. But really, it's the underlying infrastructure in terms of storage, compute, network, which enables this. And a lot of people use this in conjunction with the container platforms that are available on Google. On top of that is the recent innovation that we built out using some of the LLMs, especially Palm 2, where a lot of these models for stuff around text, video, audio, images, a lot of that is made free available to a lot of customers to use. And the interesting part is, while these are a lot of foundational models available, you have the flexibility to pick and choose. You want to use some of these, you want to bring in some of your own. For example, I think Facebook just launched their own foundational models, right? And they've seen some pretty interesting results as well. And we have a lot of customers who are using such models as well. And what we offer on top of it is really a platform to deploy your models, right? If you do have large data science teams and you want to customize and build your own models for trading, inferencing, we have what is called Vertex AI, which is a platform which is an end-to-end platform, right from which plugs into the data that you already have on Google or even third-party places, and run all sort of models that you would want on top of that, either your own models or the models that we make available. And the interesting buzz over the last 6 to 8 months with the announcement of ChatGPT, of course, a lot of you would have heard of generative AI. We have two approaches to this. One is what we call BARD, that Google launched around 2 to 3 months ago, which is the public deployment of some of these models. and anybody is free to use them. But as startups and a lot of our enterprise customers, it can't be a public data sets and open, right? So there have already been a lot of issues reported for some companies trying to use some of these public platforms and some data actually coming out, right? So what we actually look at offering to customers is something that we recently launched called the Gen AI Builder, App Builder, right? Which gives you the flexibility to have the data in your own network, have complete control and access over that for training, inferencing, whatever the use cases, and then open up a lot of interesting use cases. We have two major deployments of the Gen App Builder. One is around enterprise search, which makes it easier for you as customers to identify, search, and prop up data. And the other is on the conversational AI piece, which is a lot of the foundation models that you could actually use to very quickly develop applications or develop images, text, whatever sort of customization you want to do. And on top of that, we have what we call as vertical API solutions for specific use cases. And if you don't want to get into all this complexity, or you don't have a team to actually get this done, and you just want to use API services, you can get it done. For example, for the banking industry, we just quite recently released something around the KYC and fraud analytics space, right? And we keep building some of those innovations. We also look at some of the content that we build and extend that to products which are already there. For example, the Duet AI for Google Workspace really is something that's catching on very quickly, which is making the whole process of content creation, be it on documents, spreadsheets, or PowerPoint presentation, equivalent on Google Docs, making that very intuitive and making it very helpful for end users, be it in terms of word suggestions, autocompletes, or even grammatical mistakes, flow of how the whole thing needs to be written, and a bunch of other things. And of course, Google being a very open platform, we are plugging in a lot of what we call the ecosystem players who are building solutions in and around the whole platform that we are offering. And this again is going to be open source and I'm sure available as plugins that a lot of you can start consuming. So while this is a lot of product specific stuff and a lot of buzzwords that keep getting thrown around, it's very important to see what it means to you. And what I'm trying to do here is really look at some of the enterprise or B2B use cases of how this actually translates to the real world, right? And we have a lot of customers who are actually doing this. And what we're trying to do here is sort of classify some quick wins, easy deployments, not much time taking, to something which is very complex and will take a lot of iterations, right? But already we're seeing a lot of customers in the customer service space, be it through chatbots, be it through customer support, contact center automation, a lot of those use cases being used through some of the Gen App Builder platforms. The content generation piece has become very interesting for building new products or making a lot of new features available. And we're seeing this in a lot of B2B SaaS startups as well, who are looking to do, let's say, text-to-speech, video annotation, which is video back to text, or they're looking at terabytes of data coming in through multiple documents and how do you automate some of that document consumption, reading, and very varied use cases, still very early stages, but I'm sure in the next 6 to 12 months, we'll have very interesting use cases coming up, and given the complexity that we have with India as a country, I'm sure there are very India-specific use cases that will come out as well, So a very interesting space to see how this whole thing lands. Right. While all this is very interesting, at the end of the day, startups and a lot of you here are founders and practitioners. It's very important to ensure that we're doing this at the right price points, especially in the last 12 months, given the whole ecosystem and the shift towards profitability and unit economics, and the so-called startup winter that we've seen at least in the last 12 months, right? This is going to be of very high consequence. And again, this is something which is fundamentally built into the DNA of Google, and a lot of startups who actually use our platform leverage this very well. So while if you look at cloud as a whole, there are some pricing philosophies which are very standard, which is pay as you go, which is CapEx. You don't pay for what you don't consume. We go a couple of steps over and above this and then make it very interesting for startups. So the first thing is, I think Google is one of the first platforms to actually get out per second billing, and it becomes extremely important when you're doing very compute heavy workloads, right? Very different price points that you can achieve, and if you start scaling, every sort of second counts in the true sense. Google also offers you what we call as custom configurations. If any of you have come from the traditional VMware world, a lot of enterprises who are using servers and they move to VMware really love the flexibility of having custom configurations and not looking at standard T-shirt sizes which are available from a cloud platform. Right? So if you have some weird use case where you say that I want 3 cores and 27 GB of RAM, you can actually get that done on Google, and we give that flexibility. Something again which is very interesting to a lot of early stage startups. Usually when you hit a particular peak or let's say a particular volume, you're very sure of what your workloads are and how they're going to scale. And therefore on cloud platforms you go ahead and sort of reserve your usage so that you get discounts. But if you're in the early stages, you're doing a lot of experimentation, still trying to build an MVP, you don't know how successful the product is going to be, and you're still using a lot of on-demand resources. Google has a very interesting concept called SUDs, or sustained use discounts, where as you use the platform, even in an on-demand sort of scenario, we give you automated discounts based on how long you run these resources within a month. Right? Very different sort of economics and price points for early stage startups, which is very interesting through SUDs, and a lot of our customers actually love this, irrespective of the stage they're in. And of course, for steady workloads, you can look at reserving some of the capacity, and you have savings as high as 50 to 60% coming out of some of these platforms. We also ensure that you don't keep spending on us. So we have, again, talking about walking the talk, we use a lot of AI internally to ensure it's built into our products. So some of the recommendations that we give are based on some of these AI models where we recommend that you are better off actually shutting down or fine-tuning instances or any of these resources to ensure that you're not actually losing out a lot of money. And we have another interesting concept called preemptible VMs. This is for unique workloads where instances are as cheap as 80% of what is available on demand. It's not for all use cases because these are preemptible VMs, which means VMs or virtual machines which could be pulled out at any point of time. So if your architecture sort of lends itself to such use cases, especially around big data use cases where you need a lot of compute, but the source of data that you have is different. A lot of ML use cases, this is very interesting. We have customers who end up saving tons of money using some of these technologies. Right, and now I'm moving to the final section, which is really about partnerships and how do we enable a lot of startups in the market, not just as Google Cloud, but as Google as an overall entity. And I've sort of broken this down into two sections. One is specifically on SaaS startups and how we sort of engage. And the second is how we help startups as a whole. So we follow something called the SaaS Accelerator Framework in helping a lot of early stage startups in their journey of SaaSifying. So typically what we do is when you're actually setting up your app, we do a lot of technical engagements in terms of ensuring that you're using the right technology layers to scale your app. Obviously, we need to do a multi-tenant SaaS deployment. So, what is the bifurcation you're doing from a security standpoint, from a customer data standpoint, how you're building core concepts like billing and chargebacks, and a lot of those core application development and feature and deployment related aspects come in the section where we look at real core SaaS operations and also look at the right technology for scaling this. Then of course, we help you with a lot of data components, be it for understanding your own apps and deployments, or like a lot of SaaS organizations do, embed a lot of analytics as products and features to their end customers, right? And how do you really scale that? It becomes a very important topic when you're trying to build compatible feature sets for your customers. So once you start scaling, then you start looking at really accelerating revenue, adding a lot of customers, going to new markets. This is where with SaaS startups we do what is called co-innovation and go-to-market, and we do with a bunch of startups in India and globally as well, where we really partner and take some of the solutions that you've built and try to take it to market through multiple channels. It could be co-marketing, it could be co-selling of some of these concepts where some of the Google field organizations actually start taking your products into the field. This comes in very handy if you're looking at, let's say, a global deployment or a global market from an expansion standpoint. We do have a lot of programs where we do co-invest from a marketing standpoint, content and brand creation, and a lot of other such concepts. We also look at what is the larger Google ecosystem and how we can help you plug into that ecosystem and not just Google Cloud from a go-to-market standpoint. Very interestingly, we have something called the Google Marketplace, the Google Cloud Marketplace. There is a similar sort of solution available on what we call the Google Workspace Marketplace, which is around Google Apps. So if you have solutions which are either standalone or SaaS, you can actually list your product on the marketplace that we have and use Google Cloud as a vehicle to push your solutions to a lot of customers globally, right? And we manage the integration and billing and everything else. So this is very interesting for a lot of chief revenue officers and growth officers who are actually looking at building a joint GTM. And in India, we've seen that irrespective of where you are, early stage, like on the left side, where you're really focusing on application building, or you're really on the late stage where you're trying to build GTM and revenue, we can actually partner through multiple levers that we spoke about. For some of the very large customers, we have something called ISV Connect as well on top of the marketplace. And these are typically some of the global engagements that we have where there are a lot of additional dollars and resources and people available to the entire go-to-market and not just from a listing standpoint. We have almost every vertical from an India standpoint. Customers are using us as a platform and partnering us and going to market. Some focused on India, some globally. And again, it doesn't matter which vertical, retail, healthcare, government, a bunch of different verticals where we take you to some of the customers, we do joint engagements and ensure that there is a lot of co-selling happening on an individual customer basis based on the kind of market that you're looking to reach. Okay, that section is specifically around how do you help SaaS companies. I just take a step back and make it a little broader in terms of how we help startups as a whole. There are multiple facets of Google which are really reaching out to this ecosystem. I'll focus on the cloud part of it and just walk you through what are the different options available. So the first one is called Google for Startups. It's a cloud program which is available to bootstrap startups, funded startups to get going. And we start with giving a lot of technical help in terms of application building, in terms of deployment and going live. There are credits available as well, not only for Google Cloud services, but some of the allied services like Google Ads, Maps, and a bunch of other Google services. And it really depends if you're bootstrap versus backed by an institutional investor. You can actually get up to 350K of credits over 2 years, obviously subject to T's and C's. But we have customers who sort of use this. It's a very interesting program spread over 2 years called Google for Startups. There is a lot of engagement that we do with the community. We have a massive developer engagement and developer relations team, not from a Google Cloud, not just from a Google Cloud standpoint, but also the Android ecosystem, which is massive in the country, and also the App Store, right, which is a means to reaching out to a lot of your customers. And we do a lot of joint events. We do, as we're speaking, we're just running something called the Google Startup School, which is really an engine that we built globally to help educate, mentor, and help a lot of startups scale and get a lot of insights into the different Google technologies which are there. There are a whole bunch of VCs who are coming in, ex-startup founders, practitioners, and things like that. So I've just given the link as well. It's as simple as that. You can figure out if you're eligible and get it done online. We also have investment arms across the world. Some of them are very interesting investments through these arms that we've actually done it in India as well, and I've listed some of the startups or enterprises where Google is invested. I think the latest one was Pixel about just a month ago. It's one of the interesting startups in the space research space. Right? And given all the privatization of space that we see, a lot of startups who are very interested in this space and growing in India. Very timely with the Chandrayaan launch that we had. We also run a very popular accelerator. In fact, I've just pasted the batch 7 startups that just got selected. And these are all pre-Series A startups or Series A and before. The batch 7 was just recently announced. So we do it every 6 months. There's a call out for nominations, and we have a lot of very interesting selection methodologies which are there. We go through this. There is direct connect with PCs, which has done a lot of industry mentoring that we do along with the batches. And we've seen startups like Grow and a bunch of other them coming through some of these programs. So batch 8 should be announced in another 3 months, at least from an application standpoint. This one was unique. This was an AI-focused cohort that we launched. So a lot of these startups that you see are either AI first or AI specific deep tech startups that we have. And of course, I think the last part of the partnership is there are multiple other Google businesses If you're interested, we make those connects and build that network. We actually, within the organization, we call this One Google, and there are actually a lot of teams whose primary charter is to ensure that across startups we bring in the goodness of multiple Google business units into you, and this is something that's worked at scale and worked very successfully. Right? Happy to extend some of these things as well to some of the interesting startups too. Awesome. I think I'm right on time as well. I have 2 minutes remaining. So happy to take any questions if you have.
Hi, this is Sunil. Actually, we are using Flutter extensively for our product. So I was just wondering whether support for Flutter, etc. is there, because so far we are not been able.
Yeah. So Flutter is actually a community product. It's not like a paid product which is out there. Having said that, there are a lot of people who are actually using Flutter. If you have any specific issues or help that you might need, we might help get some architects address that. But it's not really like a paid product. It's more like a community outreach product which is out there. But happy to help you with any of the specific issues that you may have.
I catch up.
Sure, I'm here.
Hi. So we are already on Google Cloud and we have a product on the marketplace. But however, after that, we are trying to find out what is the partnership path as an ISV. So are there any pointers which I could take? So I've been trying to connect with some of the team in India.
Sure. See, listing on the marketplace is a starting step to the partnership. It doesn't mean that we've signed off from a partnership standpoint. It just means that a channel is open to you. Typically what happens from a GTM standpoint is we have resources, what we call as partner managers, who focus specifically on the ISVs. And based on the sort of partnership that we end up signing up for, there are multiple things which are there. We offer specific introductions to, let's say, enterprise customers that you want to get into. If you're in a particular vertical, we have industry or domain experts that we put you in front of, who can look at your technology and product and give you a lot of recommendations and open doors for you in some of the industry events. And because they come from that particular domain, they are connected to very large enterprise customers globally. That's of interest. We do a lot of innovations around POCs and for some of the customer acquisition that we need to do. And also some of the things around brand building and joint events and things like that. There is also an added incentive where some of the Google sales teams get aligned with your sales teams, and we can do some innovative callouts to help you get in front of a lot of customers. It really depends on what is the kind of business that you run. We have some ISVs which are very sales heavy, which means that you sell to large enterprises and there's a long sales cycle. And there are some which are marketing heavy, which really are looking at the bottom tier and the long tail. And for them, reach out to customers is through marketing and brand building. And we help in both of those. Happy to chat up with you here. You are in the right direction with the marketplace sign up, but we can do a lot. Okay, there's a big red flash saying time's up. So thank you so much. I'm here. If you have any additional questions, happy to chat up with any of you. Thanks for patiently listening and sorry about my throat.
Thank you so much.